Hey guys, welcome to episode 3 of Books, Barbells, and Beefcake. I'm your host, Nathan Jackson. Today I want to review a phenomenal book called Start With Why, How Great Leaders Inspire Everyone to Take Action, written by Sinek. All right guys, here we go. Episode 3 here, Start With Why, phenomenal book. I just want to give you a heads up. I'm not going to go into an in-depth review here because Simon has a great TED Talk video that's out there. Just Google Start With Why, watch that video. He goes into all the details of the book. It's like one of the most watched TED Talks of all time, I think. So check that out. What I will do is kind of go through how I've used this book in my past within my business to really get down to my why. And I want to also take this opportunity to let you guys know that reading a book is great. It's half the battle. Reading, I think, is one of those kind of underestimated or forgotten skill, but it's how you apply what you've learned in a book that gives you the knowledge. And I want to kind of use this opportunity here to kind of show you how I've applied what I learned in this book over the years with my own business. So the underlying message that Simon has with this book is that we don't buy or invest in what a company does. We buy or invest in why a company does what they do. The companies that know their why, they have the most loyal customers, they have the happiest employees, they're the most profitable, they're the most innovative, and they have the longest sustainability in their industry. And the companies that know their why can inspire us to follow them, to follow what they believe, to basically believe what they believe. And before I go any further with companies, I want to kind of just take a step back here and go over my own why. And for the last 18 years, I've been a trainer, strength coach, nutritionist. And for the first 10 of that, I loved what I did every day. Woke up, helped people get fit, get healthy, perform better. Awesome. Got paid for what I did. Got to buy clothes and video games and whatever else I was buying at the time. Great. But unfortunately, it wasn't until my mom passed away in 2009 from a 10-year battle of cancer, and even before that, a lifetime of yo-yo dieting and battling her weight. But it wasn't until that event where I finally picked up the pieces and was ready to get back in the game that I understood my why, and that I even knew my why. And I have a goal of helping 1 million people not just reclaim their health, but go above and beyond, amplify their health, amplify their life so they can live their best life. Because that's something that my mom, unfortunately, really didn't get to do. Not saying she didn't have a good life. She did. I'm sure she, if she was here today, she'd say she loved it. But it was cut way too short. And for 10 years of that, I'm sure she would rather have been in Vegas as opposed to going to chemotherapy treatments. But like I said, long before that, she battled her weight. And what I know now, within being in the industry that I'm in, when you battle your weight and you're always going through these yo-yo dieting phases, that it really leads to things like cancer, but not just cancer, diabetes, heart disease, mental illness, any disease out there. If you're battling weight issues, that's a huge contributing factor to these diseases. So I want to make sure that people out there are not suffering like my mom suffered for that length of time. I want to make sure people aren't suffering like I suffered watching a loved one go. I understand that death is inevitable, but with my mom's scenario, I have a pretty good feeling that she wasn't the 5% of cancers that are genetic, even though it is rampant in our family. But even if it is the 5%, her environment is what really triggered those genes to activate. I had a genetic test. I know I have cancer genes, but I know that my lifestyle isn't going to support that. So my lifestyle is super healthy. I want to make sure that I inspire people to follow me and believe what I believe so they can live their best life, so they can continue to kick ass each and every day. That's my why. And again, I didn't realize that. I didn't understand that until, unfortunately, the event of my mom passing. Let's kick it back to companies here for a second, okay? So companies that know their why, they inspire us. They inspire us because they make us feel like we belong. They make us feel like we have a sense of purpose. They make us feel safe and what's another word I'm looking for here? I guess, like I said already, belonging, safe, purpose. And that's because inspiring somebody affects our limbic brain. And our limbic brain is responsible for our emotions, for our decision making. But you can also influence our emotions and our decision making, or our limbic brain, by manipulating it. Now, companies that don't know their why are relying or have relied on manipulating you into purchasing their product or following their tribe. And manipulation is the norm, guys. It doesn't have to be, but it's the norm. And it makes a shit ton of money, excuse my language. But the companies that know their why and that inspire us, they're going to have the most loyal customers. Think of, and Simon uses Apple as I think pretty much throughout the book as his main company, but whether it's Apple or Harley Davidson or Southwest Airlines, these companies, they inspire us to do things. And with Apple, we're inspired to even like sacrifice things at times to purchase their products. Let's think about iPhones. We stand in line for an iPhone. People don't really stand in line for Androids. We stand in line for an iPhone that really doesn't have any new technology, really, that the Android didn't already have or released 6 months ago. We stand in line for an iPhone, we're going to pay more than what the Android costs. That's because we believe, we follow, we're inspired by Apple. We're inspired by what they stand for. Think of, even prior to iPhones, thinking like, I'm drawing a blank here, MP3 players, iPods, okay? iPod came out, and I think Zoom was another competitor, and iPod came out with their commercials saying we're going to put 1,000 songs in your pocket. Well, that inspired us because that's what we want. And then the people from Zoom, they were like, well, it's got 8 gigabytes of this, and it's got, I'm not a tech guy, so I apologize, but 8 gigabytes of this, it's got this interface, it's got the jack on this side, whatever. And that doesn't relate to our limbic brain, our emotional decision-making brain. It doesn't relate to our why. It doesn't relate to our how. It relates to our neocortex, which is our part of our brain that's responsible for rational thinking. Simon goes into talking about this. And this is what is really in the TED Talk video, is that you have his golden circle. And it's basically 3 circles. In the middle is your why. It's your beliefs, okay? The how, which is the middle circle, again, responsible for part of the limbic brain, the why and the how, is the actions or your actions that support your why. And they need to support your why. If your actions are out of place with your why, then we have an issue. But if they're in balance, you're going to be a company that inspires. And then the what is basically the neocortex that satisfies our rational brain. And unfortunately, people who think majority of the time in the what are paralyzed because they can't make a decision. They need to know everything about it. Whereas people who make a decision from the gut, usually they have better decisions. They make better decisions, better choices. And if they, even if the choice is bad or not so good, they can make another quick choice to right the wrong or right the ship. Okay. Yeah, Simon goes into a bunch of other things as well. I'm gonna, for the sake of keeping this video somewhat short, I'm not gonna go into that, but he talks about crossing the chasm with companies. There's a great book by that name as well, I believe. And that's just like, sorry, big, loud white truck. Crossing the chasm is kind of like the early influencers and the early followers. I can't remember exactly, but another phenomenal book if you're an entrepreneur or business owner. Definitely check that out. He talks about that. He also talks about how every good why person, okay, has a good how person. Whether that's Walt and Roy Disney. Walt was the person who lived in the clouds and had the visions and had the dreams, and Roy was the person who kind of like made sure that the company didn't fold. He did all the the grunt work and made sure that the company was rooted and continued to grow. Steve Jobs had Steve Wozniak. I always forget his last name, but Steve Jobs was the guy in the clouds, and Wozniak was the guy below. Dr. Martin Luther King had somebody. I'm trying to think of the other examples that were used, but anyway, you guys get the idea. I'm sure Simon talks about it more in that video. I didn't watch the video. I've watched it like 3 or 4 years ago. I didn't watch it intentionally because I didn't want to copy it, so regurgitate it. But if you guys are intrigued by this, start reading with why, definitely check out that video. Highly recommend it. Okay, that's it for today. Phenomenal book. Thank you for watching, guys. I really appreciate it.